the real mass women's struggle for liberation is tied to the question of class liberation. And so therefore, the question of women's liberation was a central plank in the socialist program of action. And people who were really serious about fighting for women's equality joined the socialists. And we fight alongside working class men for class liberation, which will also be women's liberation, right? Similarly, the struggle against racism is understood to be the struggle against imperialism. Imperialism needs racism, feeds racism at home and abroad all the time to justify its wars and to keep the population at home divided against itself. This is the real content of a really women's liberation struggle. What we got was the bourgeoisification to separate people who wanted to fight for women's liberation from the communists, from the socialists, right? To separate them off little silos. So we got bourgeois feminism. And instead of trying to get rid of capitalism in unity with all other workers, they separate themselves into a special interest group. So what does it really come down to? It's a demand for better off, more educated women to have access to the highest echelons of careers in the present system. And that's what equality looks like, right? This has been a hijacking of our struggle, essentially, and turning it into something completely different. And this is why I do not identify at all as a feminist, right? I am a working class politician. I do working class politics, and the working class politics for women, the battle for women's emancipation is a socialist battle. I'm going to also talk for this book from our party.
Marxism and the Emancipation of Women. Yes.
And this documents women comrades who came a generation before me, their struggles in the women's movement when it was a truly mass movement. And they were fighting these bourgeois trends. And ultimately, they were not successful because they were a small group and they were overwhelmed by all the people who were peddling bourgeois nonsense into the movement. Massive working class women who had been mobilized into the women's movement were demobilized by all the crap that was like, burn your bra, kick the oppressor out of your bed.
Abolish the family.
Right. So all of this nonsense.
Families are bad, especially those men folk.
So the working class women actually wanted to better their conditions as working class women, and the direction that the movement was going in alienated them, and they were basically demobilized. And the movement became one of petty bourgeois feminists who basically went into academia, Germaine Greer types.